first down. They hand off to Marlon Mack. Huge hole, 50-yard line. He's at the 40, still going near sideline. He's at the 10. He's at the 5, and he will score. Touchdown, Marlon Mack. Touchdown, INDY. And again, it's picked up. It's Darius Leonard. Leonard with his second INT, and he's streaking down the near sideline. He's at the 40. He's at the 30. He's at the 20. He's going to go. A pick six for the Maniac.
Horseshoe is back, baby. The horseshoe is back.
What's going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Bring the Juice podcast. I'm your host, Cody Felger, your other host, Mr. Derek Larger. We have a very special guest on with us today, Indianapolis Colts wide receiver, number 10, Mr. Reece Fountain. Reece, thanks for joining the podcast, man. How are you?
What's up, man? I'm doing pretty well. How y'all doing?
Doing good, man. Doing
good,
great.
good. Yeah, like we were saying off air, we're just ready for some football, man. It's been a long off season with everything going on, so certainly exciting that training camp's coming up. And I know you said when we were messaging just about how, obviously since the injury happened, you have to go back a little bit early to training camp and everything like that. So I'm glad we could get this interview in before all that stuff happens. So without further ado, Reece, let's start this interview. So obviously you were taken in that historic 2018 draft, right? Taken in the 5th round out of Northern Iowa. I'm curious because Northern Iowa, when you think of, football schools, Northern Iowa's D1 school, but it's not like, one of those schools, I guess, that you typically think of. It was kind of an under the radar type of school, just like you were an under the radar type of prospect. And so I'm curious for you, how much of a transition was it from Northern Iowa to the NFL?
Man, it was a huge transition. Like you said, Northern Iowa just being the D1 AA. Obviously, I didn't see the competition that, your normal D1 schools see, like the Clemson, Alabama's, all the rest of the FBS schools. Right. So, man, it was a big transition for me, but, man, to be honest, I just knew coming out that, as long as I put my head down, work, I'd be able to play with anybody. After the East-West Shrine game, that's when I really gained that confidence and validated. But, when I just got into the league, man, I just had a little late start. It was a lot of things that were new to me. I just had basically just kind of like a rough transition. And obviously, man, I just knew, like, after my rookie season, I had to really put my head down and work. And that's when I really just went into that offseason, just attacked, man. So, yeah, man, it was a pretty rough transition in the beginning.
Absolutely. And you spent most of that rookie season on the practice squad. But then this last year, you started finding a little bit of ground in training camp and then the preseason. Obviously that, it didn't work out at the, basically that ended your season with that injury last year. Obviously it was a rough end to a very promising couple of games and couple of weeks. But I'm curious for you, take me through that process for you, physically, emotionally, everything that kind of comes in between, because it has to be hard for I know how much of a competitor you are. It has to be hard for that to happen,
Definitely, man. I'm not going to lie, man. This whole process, like I was telling you before the interview started, man, it's been like 10, 11 months. It was hard, man. It was really hard. Like I said, man, going into that offseason after my rookie year, man, I really put my all into it. Like, man, it was days where I would literally go 7 days out of the week. I was literally training 3 times a day. Like, I was really getting after it, man. And I really saw my game elevate as I went through the offseason. And it was crazy just because, like, man, it got to a point where my athletic trainers back at the Indianapolis Colts, they called me and they were seeing, a lot of the stuff that I was doing on my social media. And they was like, hey, man, like, you need to calm down. Like your body's going to burn out if you keep going like this. But, man, I was just hungry. I was really hungry and I was just determined. I was just determined. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
I was just determined to just get better, man, because obviously I knew, going into my second year, they were going to want to see that jump after my first year. So, man, I just really put my head down. But, man, that process was hard because, like, after I put all that work in and just for it to end like that, it devastated me. I'm not going to lie, man. I spent a lot of days just sad. You try to stay optimistic in those situations. You try to say, like, oh, man, the best is yet to come and stuff like that. But it literally killed me, man, because it was like, being injured, being on IR, you spend a lot of time away from the team, especially when you have an injury like me where you just literally have to just sit up for most of the time. Like, yeah, man, I don't know how many hours I literally lay with my leg propped up in the bed, just literally watching, especially on Sundays. And it just sucked because, man, like, I had a scout tell me, like, man, you was probably literally, we had like 13, 14 receivers going to camp. You was probably literally like the 12th receiver. And before your injury, you literally was making your way up between that 3 through 5 range. And it was just crazy. Like, I remember literally the day before the injury happened, I had coach come up to me. It was me and Dion. He told me, like, hey, man, like, we've been seeing what y'all been doing. You're about to start getting packages with the ones. And, like, for me, man, it was crazy because, like, coming off the year I had, the year before, it's like, man, like, I didn't get playing time. Obviously, like you said, I spent most of my year on practice squad. To hear that, I was like, man, this is real. Like, this is not happening right now. And then when I went into it, it was like everything was smooth. Like, I remember that day, I ended up starting 101s off right, had a couple, flashy catches. And, like, man, I'm not going to lie. At a point, it really felt like I was back playing at Northern Iowa. Like, I remember telling my coach that, like, I was so comfortable and the game was just coming so easy to me. I'm like, I just knew, like, okay, this is going to be the season. Like, I don't know what's going to come ahead, rewards-wise or anything like that. But I just knew, like, this is going to be my breakout season. And, man, like, when that play happened, I'll never forget it, man. It was a blocking play, and I was cracking down on that linebacker. It was just crazy just to see all of that flash before my eyes within 5 to 8 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, I would never forget, man, like, literally me and that linebacker was at, like, a stalemate. And to be honest, when you have an injury like that, man, you don't feel it. Because when it first happened, I remember just falling to the ground. I was looking the dude in his eyes. And as I was going to the ground, man, I could see, like, he started to get distress on his face. Like, he was about to cry. And I'm like, I remember being on the ground like, damn, like, why can't I get up? Like, why can't I get up? And I looked down and my ankle was literally facing the whole direction. And literally once I saw that, that's when everything just hit me. Just all the hard work I put in the off season, all the late nights, pain, just going through all this grind, literally gone. And it devastated me, man. And then it was just crazy because obviously in the beginning, man, my rehab was going real smooth. It was going real smooth, like 2 to 3 months. I think it was like 2 months. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Like 2 months after the fact, I was already back on the field running. And, like, no, it wasn't like 100%, but, like, just from, like 2 months ago, I literally had my ankle in a different direction. And now I'm back on the field running. Man, like, it got to a point, man, like, I know I didn't share this with nobody, and I had 3 surgeries from this ankle. It was 3 surgeries. And because it got to a point, I literally tell people, I went from being on the scooter / boot, to back to just the boot, to a brace, to on the field, back in the boot, back on the scooter, back on the brace, then literally back in the cast and on crutches again. And it literally killed me, man. This whole process was just up and down. And one of the reasons why, because I think it's my tibia, my bone wasn't healing as well. Like, the outside of my ankle was fully healed, but it was just something about that little spot on the inside where it wasn't a lot of blood flow that was getting to it. And the doctors were telling me, like, it wasn't healing. So, man, I went through everything. Like, I went down to Tennessee. I got a shockwave therapy. That was my second surgery. They had to put me under. And basically, it was just these strong electric pulses that just went through my ankle that just basically was trying to tell it to wake up so it had to heal. And then it got to like 75%. So once that started happening, man, literally the doctors put me on this medicine where I was literally giving myself a shot like a diabetes needle. I don't know what exactly you call it, but literally I was giving myself a shot every day to help my bone heal. And it got to a point where it was at a stalemate again. So literally, man, like in April, that was my last surgery. In April, we don't know all this COVID stuff. That's when it just broke out. I'm in Texas. By this time, I get released to go out to Texas to start training. And we thinking that my bone just going to gradually heal. And, I'm just going to come back and be like that. I come back out to Indianapolis for my last CT scan. They say, man, like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, this bone isn't healing and you have to get a bone graft surgery. So basically what they did, they just went into my hip, took bone graft, put it into my ankle, and it just literally healed, which was, I don't even know how it worked, but it worked. And at that time I was devastated again, man, because like I'm sitting here April 7th. I'm in Madison, Wisconsin. Now. I literally had to get my surgery in Green Bay, but I'm in Madison, Wisconsin, and I'm just sitting like I'm uncertain. I'm like, man, am I going to be able to play football again? Like, am I going to be the same person again? Am I going to be able to play football this season? Like, I went through 3 surgeries. Now, obviously, the last 2 hasn't worked. Like, man, it was getting to a point where I was really starting to lose faith, and it was just hurting, man, because it was like in those moments, you ask, like, why? Like, obviously, man, this is my second year. My first year didn't go as I wanted to. And you just like, man, why is this happening to me? Like, why do I got to go through this? Obviously, man, so I stayed low. I literally took, it took, probably 4 or 5 weeks. I ended up, on top of my last surgery, I ended up going down to Tyler, Texas to get some stem cell shots to just help, regenerate all that broken tissue, bone and stuff, just to help it just regrow. And now here I am today. Literally, man, I never forget, man. It was I was literally at the facility and I had my last appointment. It was a Monday. I literally had my last appointment on the Tuesday. I was like, man, I thought I was just gonna go in there. They was gonna tell me how I'm progressing and what with this. Man, I went up in there and my doc looked at me and said, man, I don't know what to tell you, but you're clear. And I was like, what? I couldn't even feel excitement because I was just like, but what's the catch, man? Like, what's the catch? Like, I've been through so much. I'm like, what's the catch? You're like, man, like, your bone is fully healed. You clear. And that's when I ended up going to get a chance to go off in Texas to train to get my body right, man. And here I am now, literally. So it was an up and down season, man. I'm not going to lie. It was days where, like I said, I thought I was going to be able to get back to this moment. Obviously, I deal with a little, little nicks and pains here and there, but it's nothing like I was dealing with these past 10, 11 months, because I'm telling you, man, this was probably one of the hardest things I ever went through in my life.
Yeah, that's a tremendous story, Reece. It's a story that Colts Nation has been hearing about a lot recently, and we've been talking about it a lot. Well, basically going into training camp now, NFL and the NFLPA have said, we're probably not going to have preseason games because, the situation with COVID and everything else going on. So now that there's not really a preseason to kind of, show your talents, how much more do you feel that puts pressure on you to perform in training camp to kind of see where you can get to this 53-man roster?
Oh, yeah, definitely, man. With us not potentially having the preseason, it definitely puts some pressure on me. But like I said it before anyway, man, like for all the games that I missed this past season, I literally was telling myself months ago, like, I'm going into this training camp and each practice is a game for me. Like, I don't care if it's just a walkthrough or whatever. Like, I really feel like it has to be that way. Because like you said, man, we're not going to be able to get that many opportunities to put tape like that. So you literally have so many amounts of practice to go out there and prove to these coaches that you belong. And obviously, they know what I did last year. Like, they know the type of player I was before this injury happened. But that was last year. Like, that's in the past. Like, this is a what can you do for me now league. And obviously, I know they're looking at what can he do for me now, especially coming up this injury. So it's like, man, I just got to go in there and treat every practice like a game. Obviously, I'm going to be smart. I'm not going to try to hurt any of the teammates or anything like that because I know we all working to get better. But, man, when it's time, I literally just got to go, literally just put my head down, just go. Just literally just be boss for the wall, man, because it's like I already know, like, I'm battling for a roster spot, man. I just want to go out there and just prove to everyone, not even just, the coach, but everyone that, I'm still the player that everyone thought I was when I was taken in the draft.
Gotcha. Yep, absolutely. Reece, I'm curious, what would you say as a player are some of your biggest strengths that you think you can bring to this Colts roster in 2020?
Definitely, man. I'm definitely one of those big body receivers. Like, I always prided myself coming out in the draft on my jumping ability. So I'm one of those go up and get it type of receivers. I can run. I've been literally running track ever since Lord knows how long when. But I really believe, like, I'm that overall just big body explosive receiver. Like I said, like, if you need one of those fade balls in the end zone, that's me. If you need someone to dump it down 5 yards, get good 15 yards of yak after the catch or something, I believe I can do that too, man. Like, I literally think I'm just a role player, man. I can go out and be any type of receiver that the team needs me to be. It's just I just got put in a position to do it.
Right, and that's the kind of receiver that I think Phillip Rivers will enjoy. Speaking of Phillip Rivers, that's obviously been the big thing over the last year. Andrew Luck being gone, then going to Brissett, and then this offseason, Phillip Rivers coming into town. What's Phillip Rivers been like in meetings? Everyone said he's taking control of the groups and everything, but what's it been like interacting with him?
Man, it's been really good, man, because like you said, man, he really has been showing that leadership throughout the meetings. It's just crazy, man. I was telling my pops and my family back at home, I'm like, dog, like, I was young when Phillip first got into the league. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's crazy, man, because I remember being young, watching him as a rookie, and it's like, dog, like, I'm actually about to get the opportunity to play with him. Like, I just can't believe it. But, man, no, it's just really been awesome, man, just to hear him just take control. And it's crazy just to hear how – I know he's a quarterback and I know he's a vet, but how fast he just knows this playbook now. Just it's inside and out. I don't know if – I know him and Coach Reich had ties in the past, but it's just like, man, he just coming in. He just know it. Like, I'm like – and you love that, man. Obviously, man, it's a great opportunity for me just as a young player to just – be under a vet like that. Obviously, he's been in the league for a while, so just to be able to just pick his brain, man, and just learn as much as I can while I got the time with him, man, I'm definitely got to take advantage of that opportunity.
Absolutely, man. It's good to hear that. Another thing, we're always constantly trying to get better, right? We've been saying that with each other when it comes to this podcast, and you having the kind of personality that you have, we know that you've been working hard to get yourself where you're at. What are some parts of your game that you're trying to improve going into this season?
Man, like one thing I'm really trying to improve on, especially just coming off this injury and not being able to move for a year. Man, I was just working on my route run. Like if you guys look at my social media on my Instagram, Reece_JMM, you will see like I got a lot of videos of me just doing a constant just route technique. But man, overall, like just everything, to be honest, man, like I've been in my playbook a lot. Like, I'm just trying to become a better student of the game. And me being in my third year here at the Colts, man, I just want to be able to know the playbook inside out. And not only the playbook, but be able to read defenses on the fly. So, man, I really just been studying with not only on my own, but also my coach down in Dallas, Texas, David Robinson, man, he been helping me just to learn how to dissect defenses and just stuff like that. Just easier. Just so, you won't be thinking a lot once, obviously, the ball is snapping, you got to run your route. But, yeah, man, I think for the overall point, like, I think definitely my technique, man. I really just been hammering at my technique and just being able to just get that repetition to just running routes because, obviously, going through an injury like this, you kind of lose that muscle memory for a little bit. And, obviously, it takes a lot to get it back.
Definitely. Yeah. And I'm curious, Reece, so obviously a lot of our listeners, not all of them surprisingly, but a lot of our listeners follow the Colts and have followed your story up to this point. I'm curious for our listeners, if there's one thing that you would like to tell them they're going to get from Reece Fountain this year, what would that be?
Man, I'm telling you, you're going to get a person that is literally going to do whatever it takes to help the team win. Like, man, like if one thing that the fans do not know about me from my social media, I know it's hard to get a perspective or perception from the social media, is I work hard. Like I really pride myself for that, man. Like I'm hard on myself. I kill my body. I do a lot of stuff that a lot of these players don't like to do when it comes to working hard.
Yeah.
To literally become the best player I can be, man. And that's what you're going to get out of me. You're going to get a dude that's going to work hard and literally go out there and just give us all every play. Because obviously, man, I haven't played a significant snap, at least I say, since I've been in college. And I'm itching to get up there to really just show Coach Nation the type of player I am, the type of explosive player that I know I can beat in this league. I obviously need to stay healthy, man, just get that chance. And I know once it happens, it's going to come because it's like I've been working hard for it for a while. I'm hungry. I'm starving. I can't even say I'm hungry. I'm literally starving. I'm fiending to get on that field. So, man, you're literally going to get a player that's literally going to just give it all he has until the end of the game.
Gotcha. And Reece, one final question that I had for you. Colts.com put out an article last August about your update with your injury and how everything went down. And they were talking about your daughter and how significant that was for you specifically. I just wanted to ask, man, how important has she been for you through this whole process of trying to deal with, physical and mental pain, everything going on? How big has she been?
Man, she kind of been like a safe haven to me, to be honest, man, because it's just crazy with all this stuff going on with me, my bone healing, my bone not healing, everything, all the adversity I've been through. Every time I got around my daughter, it felt like none of that stuff didn't matter. Like she's been so important, and it's crazy because she's 1.5 now, so it's like she's getting to that age where she's developing her personality, and it's just so wild because my daughter already looked like me. I literally call her 2.0. She's literally my twin, but it's just like I don't know, man. It's just that little girl. She's just something else. Like that's literally my heart. Like I can't even explain it. Like I'm smiling right now because I ain't trying to get folks to talk about it, but it's just like that little girl's literally everything. She's everything, and I will be lying if I said I wasn't doing this off of her. Like I literally think about her. I will be in the middle of a rep, going through one of the hardest reps of my life, and I would think about my daughter. Like literally true story, because that's how much she means to me, man. I know at the end of the day, if I do what I have to do, her life is going to be way easier than what I had growing up. So that's literally what I got to keep in the back of my mind.
So you saying she looks and acts like you more than mom, huh?
Easily. Oh, man.
All right, I got you.
It's like, man, like the way how she just act, little gestures and stuff like that. I'm like, Sienna, like, wow. Like sometimes I just look at her, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is my daughter. Like I can't get my head around it, man. But she don't even know it yet. That little girl is literally my 2.0. That's my twin.
That's awesome, man.
Awesome, man. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, Reece, thank you so much, man, for coming on and just kind of sharing your story a little bit, the road to recovery. I know it's been tough at points, but certainly seems like you've been able to persevere and come through on the other side. So, man, best of luck at training camp. Best of luck as, you're fully recovered now. And, man, I hope you tear it up at training camp.
Really hope so.
Man, that's the plan, man. I appreciate y'all. Thanks for having me, man.
Oh, no problem,
Yeah,
man.